What's something your parents always believed in that was completely false? That the computer is broken again, because I used it one time last year. My mom's go-to is, well, your sister was on YouTube again. Yes. Because YouTube is the source of all the viruses. Definitely not the porn my stepfather watches. Oh my god. Yes. Every time the computer is messed up it is because I used it one time for 5 minutes. Or the your video games are the reason our computer is messed up is always great. Even though the computer we have is designed to play those games and I've ensured it has all necessary components to run said games. My mom thought every house we lived in was ducking haunted. One day, I realized, oh, she's just an insane person. Edit. When I was 7, I experienced sleep paralysis, and it was the most terrifying event of my life at the point. I was comforted by my mother with this explanation. That's just the ghost of your stepfather's uncle visiting you at night. He killed himself in your room. That with determination and persistence, you can walk into a hospital or law firm and get a job as a professional in those practices without any prior related education or experience. My mom doesn't seem to understand no one is hiring in this area. I made her watch me apply at 10 different places and do follow-up calls with them, just so she would shut up about it. Well, if I applied I would easily get the job. Really? The 50-year-old that's worked in an office for the past 10 years would get a retail job over a 19-year-old with no prior job experience? I think this kind of thinking is endemic of some of the boomers. They just cannot wrap their heads that you can't walk into a company, land a job, work hard for 20 years, put away a nest egg and support a family, get promoted and work your way up. Not anymore. Honestly, writing that felt silly. It's just so far from what is actually happening for the vast majority of young people. In fact, if you do want a significant raise/better position, most of the time, it'll be at another organization. Sleeping with a fan on will kill me. Edit. Yes, I'm Korean. I've done that every night for years. Ditto. Literally thousands of nights spent sleeping in a closed room with the fan running. Still woke up in the morning. Curiously, been seeing dead people for years, though. My dad insists it's pronounced Steinfeld, despite the obvious lack of the letter T absolutely ducking anywhere in Jera's name. That's obviously not correct. As a son, I understand your frustration. As a dad, I can tell with absolute certainty that he knows how it's pronounced. He continues to do it because it exasperates you. In any given conversation with my kids, I mispronounce about 75% of proper nouns and 50% of words with greater than 2 syllables. I'm the only one who thinks it's funny, but duck them. I'm going to keep doing it. I tell my 3-year-old, Becky, that I accidentally left the real her in the play area at Ike, and that she is an imposture called Lecky, and that one day I will go back to Ike and switch them back. When I was 5, my mom used to say that she and my dad were going out for the night and her twin sister Lucy was going to watch me. I didn't know for a shamefully long time that Lucy was just my mom with different clothes on. That people open bags of chips in the store, poison them, and then reseal them. No one does that, mother. One time, me and my subs found one of those huge packs of assorted individual junk food. Yeah, it was in the road, but it looked fine. It was like finding gold, because we weren't allowed much junk food. For some stupid reason we showed our mom, who told us that people can use needles so tiny you'd never see the holes to inject bad stuff in the Cheetos, etc. Lesson learned: do not show parents found food. If only they would share this amazing technology with the medical community. This is stupid. Doctors don't care if you can see the holes in your bag of chips. My mom was convinced that Tiger Woods was Oprah's son. That's the funniest racism I've heard in a while. In the 80s, my mother and father heard of a game for the Atari 2600 called Dungeons and Dragons, and it was possessing children who played it. They heard that you would become locked in a trance, staring at the screen, and you would have a death grip on the controller and no one else could separate your hand from it. And the power plug for the Atari would be magically bound to the plug-in on the wall and no one could unplug it. My parents are so stupid. Except for the power plug thing. That's pretty much how I play most video games. My mom legitimately thought that Albert Einstein invented math. Berlin, 1925. Hey, guys. You know how like, sometimes there's one thing, but sometimes there's more than one thing. HMM. I never noticed, but I suppose you're right. What if we wrote that down? Holy shit, that's genius, Albert. Thank God he figured it out before World War II, or else we just would have had to call it the even bigger war. They had a bet going, since I was young, that I would come out as gay. I'm straight. My dad always thought I was secretly gay. My mom didn't. Came out as transgender to my family. My mom didn't say anything, but has been really excited to finally have another girl in the house. My brother just said, really? That's awesome. And my dad spun around in his chair and yelled, I told you. To my mom. My family has been pretty supportive, if you couldn't guess. Tampons are not to be used by girls because they will make you a woman. Subsequently, no man will ever marry a non-virgin. My mom told me a story once that after my aunt broke up with her live-in boyfriend, my grandmother tearfully asked my mom, how will she ever find a husband now? This was the late 70s. I was like, damn. That's the plot of Pride and Prejudice. This was so insane. I was told that tampons, absorbent cotton, would stretch you out and make you loose. Yeah, maybe if you use like 4 or 5 at the same time. My grandmother asked my doctor, are there tampons for virgins? That you can pause your online game. Anyone who does anything that involves putting something in their mouth, smoking, chewing gum, do so because they were not breastfed as a child and need to make up for a childhood of not having something in your mouth. Every cigarette smoker and gum chewer in the world was never breastfed. She was absolutely perplexed the day I came home chewing gum. Spit that out. You were breastfed. Lol. Were your parents raised by Freud? Some people think that if a child is born through C-section they will not be as tough because they did not have to fight their way through the birth canal. My mother wouldn't let us drink water right after we took any liquid medicines. She thought it would dilute them. Then she must have hated homeopathy with a passion. My parents believe that maggots are spontaneously generated. They refuse to believe that they are just fly babies. They think that within us cum and ichnes, a load of maggots will spontaneously appear. They also think it's gay for men to groom themselves and treat themselves. They are just mad my eyebrows are great and my hair looks awesome. This smelly horrible tasting soup is good for you, although I don't have any credible information to back this up. My fellow Asians will understand. People often avoid smelly horrible tasting things, and people often die. Coincidence? I think not. My dad would, and still does, use a light year as a measure of time. For example, we've been waiting on you for a light year. Hurry up. Your dad doesn't happen to be that one trainer in Brock's gym, right? That they know how to handle computers. Coming home from school and uninstalling toolbars. No, the toolbars got there because of what you did, not them. This one is classic. Told my mom once that 99% of all species that once existed on Earth are now extinct. Mom said, yeah, it's because the Chinese are fishing them all out. SMH. The Maysians always be like, gotta catch 'em all. Bloody Chinese, they ate all the dinosaurs. That going outside with wet hair would give me a cold. Even though it isn't true, I wouldn't go out with wet hair if there's a chilling breeze going on outside. Or in the winter, your hair could freeze, right? The garbage men are all kidnappers and rapists. When you hear the garbage truck come around, run for your life. I used to follow the trash truck around the neighborhood, waiting for them to pull the lever that operated the big scoop. I loved that thing, but was very sad because I was a white kid and I thought you had to be black to become a trashman. One day, a crew came around that included a white trashman. In disbelief, I ran home to tell my mother about it. She told me that anybody could become a trashman. It was the happiest day of my life. Please tell me you followed your dream and became a garbage man. He did. He became white trash, man. My mother freaks out when we pass a truck. She thinks the car can be sucked under the 18-wheeler's trailer. My father is awesome and always acts like it's pulling the car in. Then he saves the day. My mom still thinks that it is possible. My father is awesome and always acts like it's pulling the car in. This might have something to do with why your mother still believes it. That if you have a nosebleed you should put your head as far back as possible. When I was a child, I had lots of nosebleeds and had to endure that gross feeling of blood going down the back of the throat. Then I read a first aid book and learned the truth. I think that advice originated because it is the best way to save the carpet. My parents said it too, and I fully believe they said it to protect the white carpet. My mom still believes that you can overdose from marijuana, like fatally overdose. Well, maybe, if you shot up like 8 or 9 whole marijuanas in one sitting. My mother believes that it is a fact that women who enjoy sass have baby girls and women who don't enjoy the sass have boys. Not only is this a wives' tale, but she has it reversed. The women who enjoy sass have boys according to the myth. I actually got into an argument about it with her. She insisted it was scientific fact. Rolls eyes. Are you a boy or a girl? My father used to think you get irradiated by standing in front of a microwave. Mine too. I'd get in trouble for watching the food go round and round. My mom made a paste out of baking soda and a little bit of water and thought it would cure my sore throat. She would put it on her finger and rub my tonsils with it until I sometimes puked. She also thought that minced onion in your stuffy nose will clear it all up. You just have to endure the intense burning for a few moments. Yay, I hated being sick as a child. Well, I guess you never faked sick to stay home from school. That blood is blue until it contacts air. Yeah, it sucks because blood carries oxygen. That it's alright to try and turn your children against the other parent during and after your breakup. Love should never be a weapon. My Mexican mom told me to not let a broom sweep over my feet or I'll never get married. Also, she said I needed to keep a safety pin on my clothes during a full moon to protect my unborn baby. Also, La Llorona. Vaccines cause autism. They still do. Every day they tried to convince me not to vaccinate my son until it was all done. The guy who reported that is in jail for it. My dad wouldn't let me play the NES after a shower for fear of electrocution. What? That if you swallowed a watermelon seed, a watermelon vine would grow from your belly button. I'm 100% sure this is incorrect. Windmills don't steal wind, Mom. We have many large turbines around where I live. My friend's mom truly believes they are the reason it is so windy here. My father always laments the invention of gas engines, saying how much better life would be if we had stuck with steam engines, since we would just have to fill our cars up with water. Sorry, Dad. I know you mean well, but steam engines don't work like that. Had to break it to him over the summer and he looked crushed that he had gone on saying this for so long. Not my parents, but my grandma believes lightning bolts can get through the house mirrors. She covers all the mirrors in her house with blankets when there's a storm. Lightning bolts can go through mirrors, but not through a blanket. Interesting. My parents did not believe that there's such a thing as light pollution. When I first mentioned this to them, they thought I was joking. They still do. My mother was convinced the Smurfs were satanic. They actually were communists. That my stomach would cramp while swimming after eating. When has that ever happened? Fun fact, apparently, this was made up by lifeguards to prevent overzealous swimmers throwing up in the pool from overexertion right after eating. Wi-Fi was pronounced Wi-Fi. The moon landing is a hoax. My dad is a university engineer. He is head of a university course in engineering. Turns out he never did any research into it, since he doesn't like that subject. He thought they landed the entire module on the moon and lifted up with all the fuel. No, Dad, they just landed with that lander module, went back up and rendezvous. That depression was a choice. They've since come around, but only in the past couple years, when I've been depressed since I was 10. I'm 28 now. Damage is done already. My mother has weird medical theories. She thinks walnuts are good for the lungs because they look like lungs, and that farting can help cure vertigo.